historic house. We give guided tours of the period rooms. But we also do temporary exhibitions. We do programs, activities. And one of the activities we do every year is actually a house and embassy tour of the local neighborhood, the DuPont Calorama neighborhood there, which is Embassy Row and the surrounding area. And we were thinking, this is just a one-time thing each year, and we actually get a lot of requests from visitors when they're visiting us. What's the story behind this building over here? What was this before it was an embassy? And that's what kind of led us to thinking about an audio tour, because of course we don't have the resources to do a regular walking tour of the neighborhood. We don't have enough staff to do that kind of thing. And we actually heard about Guide by Soul from another National Trust site, Decatur House, who had just finished a tour of, it was actually called Half Had Not Been Told Me. It was about African Americans in Lafayette Square by the White House. I don't know if anyone's taken that tour. But they actually produced that, and we heard about it, we got interested, and we decided to offer this tour of Embassy Row. As a National Trust site, we consider ourselves to be a model of preservation, and we try to get involved in preservation in the local community. It's a very interesting neighborhood, of course, very culturally diverse, certainly with all the embassies, a lot of neat historic architecture, and grand mansions that are now being used as embassies and ambassadors' residences. So we got started on this tour. We actually applied for a grant and received funding from the National Trust's Interpretation and Education Fund, which funds projects like this at the National Trust sites. It's also funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities. So we actually had an intern from George Washington University's Department of Museum Education who came on board and did the basic research for the tour, helped us pick out which stops we should use, which were the most interesting buildings, and actually kind of wrote an initial script for the tour. And one of the things we heard was that if you get a celebrity to give the tours, someone with name recognition, that'll help you. So we were fortunate enough to get journalist and author Cokie Roberts to narrate our tour, which was great. And she actually recorded the audio. We simply gave her the script, and she recorded the tour in, I think, NPR studios here in Washington, and just sent us the raw audio files, and we edited them just using Audacity, a freeware audio editing program. I'd never actually used it, but it was very easy to put together. We also got involved with some of the embassies and local museums and galleries, and had them record introductions to their sites. So we had, Cultural Tourism DC did something on Art on Call. We had the oldest inhabitants of DC. We had Restore Manasab. We had all these other organizations coming together to record audio for a tour, and it was very easy to do. We just, actually those we did over the phone. We just dial the number and record, and it brings it up on the website. So very simple to use, and really valuable resource. I mean, we've got some really interesting stories from longtime residents in the neighborhood about what it used to be like to live there. So please check it out when you get a chance. The brochure we produced with a design company, and we wanted something small, about the size of a cell phone, that would fit in your pocket, and would then just fold out with a map, so you can see where all the sites are. And we don't get a lot of walk-in visitors at Wilson House. We get people who know where we are, have heard about us, have read about us, and want to come visit. They're interested in historic sites or presidents. So that one of the goals for doing this was to draw people up Massachusetts Avenue from DuPont Circle and to get them to visit. That was one of the reasons we did this. So as well as handing this out at our own site, we distributed it to local hotels and other museums, cultural organizations, and embassies, and we keep them restocked. We also did a podcast version on our website, which was very easy after we'd done the cell phone tour version. We just put a PDF of this brochure on our website, which you can download, and put all the audio files together, so you can just put them on your iPod. And we found, visitors are using that as well. So we put this together in approximately, I think it was about 6 or 7 months. It took us to, from start to finish. And we launched it back in September 2008. Since then, we've had about 3,500 calls from 1,300 unique visitors. There's very good statistics that Guy Faisal gives you on, you can break down different categories of visitors, how long they spent, which stops they listen to, which are the best, most popular stops. And we've had, over 1,000 visitors download the podcast version on our website, so that's getting visited as well.
This is from what time period? When did it start?
September 2008. So it's been going for about 2 years now. And it, it goes up and down as far as visitor numbers. We promoted it along with cultural tourism's, Passport DC, and you may have seen it at certain sites for different things. We found that when we got some publicity, we had it featured in a few local newspapers, and that really helped boost the visitor numbers, and that was great. But it's really, it's been a good resource. It's raised awareness of Wolston House in the community, and it's just been, worthwhile. It's an added service to our visitors. As I said, if they have nothing to do on the walk, it's a 15-minute walk from DuPont Circle. It's nice that they can find out a little more about some of the other interesting buildings they see. So that's pretty much it. I want to answer your questions. Go ahead.
What's your number for your visitors again? Since September early?
So we've had about 1,300 unique visitors with the cell phone tour and about 1,000 on our website. So about 2,000. So.
How long is the individual lecture?
They're only a few minutes each. We try to edit it down so that people don't get too bored. And if you're standing there, it can get a bit tedious. But there's a great variety. You don't have to take all of them. You can sort of pick and choose. And there's some really interesting facts on there that I had never known. And I think it's it's a really interesting resource. We're going to keep it going for a while.
So the actual steps would be what? First, identify the resource.
Yeah.
Develop.
Get some funding.
Well,
That's
okay.
important. But yeah, as far as we had a lot of the research built up already because, as I said, we do this annual house and embassy tour, so we knew a lot about the embassies already, and there's some resources.
Do the research.
Yeah.
Then when does the software come out?
That's a good question. I guess it's just a matter of once you've got the audio files, you upload them to the website. So
the
it's
audio files will just take.
you can just
take the stuff.
You can either do it that way, or as Sarah said, you can actually record them directly on the phone. The quality is a little, it's not quite as good. I guess it probably depends on your phone. I don't know about current phone technologies. There may be. We found though that the studio recordings were sort of a level above, but I'm sure you could just use an MP3 player or something of that kind, and a decent microphone. It would probably be really good.
And some people don't do that exactly. They just use a nice, little MP3 player. They can take a nice microphone and get the interviews. Or some people will use the telephone and conference call in the artists or historians to be able to participate in the tour. And certainly sometimes using these these sort of devices or the telephone, you can cut down on your costs.
Yeah.
Or if you
Yeah,
have
'cause
some
we
great
didn't have
resources, you know,
to
go to the
arrange
studio.
to meet all the ambassadors, you know, we just sent them a letter and they actually did it themselves, you know, sent them instructions, and it's pretty easy to use. So.
And then
Just like
after
the
you do
message.
that, then you call Guide by Cell. Yeah.
Okay,
They
so
call
yes.
you, and then you, of course, have certain charges, right?
Right. I mean, in general, the audio tour technology, it kind of depends on how much you use the system. So it probably ranges anywhere from $1,000 for the year to $6,000 for the year, depending on the size of your organization. 6,000 is probably the high end for the kind of larger ones. But
So for 1,000, you get what?
you're going to get everything. So in general, you know, we're going to connect you with the system. You're going to be able to be connected with that local number so your visitors can call and use that number. And then you're going to be able to upload as many stops as you want or audio files. And then your visitor is going to call. So for $1,000, I mean, you're probably going to be, you know, the small to medium-sized organization.
Is anyone here from a historic site or someone that's thinking about using this? Encourage you to take it.
Yeah, a question on the cost, is that a setup cost, the 1,000 to 6,000 range, or is that?
Well, we
That's
pay a
it.
monthly fee, a hosting fee,
Hosting.
yeah, which, right.
So there's an ongoing.
There is an
cost.
ongoing cost, but you know, compared to the traditional handheld devices, the cost is much more minimal. You're not relying on people learning how to use the device as well. Since most people know how to use a cell phone, there's not a learning curve. I've seen that a lot with kind of people providing the MP3 players. People get, some people can get a little flustered in terms of how to use the MP3 players. So
Yeah, and that wouldn't have worked for this kind of tour where people are going off-site, and you know you're not going to get your MP3 player back. So,
A funny question. This is clearly a key component. And do you have any sense of what you got a grant to do this. What portion of the funding went toward the audio development, and what portion went toward the brochure?
quite a bit to the brochure because we actually I think had 10,000 printed, and it was quite an expense.
I mean, it
So
seems to me that a
that's
lot
true,
of
yeah.
these, it's the brochure that is actually
the
the.
about $10,000 altogether. So most of that probably would have gone into staff time designing and printing, and then we're paying $200 guide myself monthly fees. So gives you some idea.
So the 10,000 was to do the development of both the audio and the brochure?
Right. Yeah.
Because it
Those
kind
were
of
the
goes
total
together, I mean.
Costs, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to have a nice piece, and we actually have stands you can see here in the back that we gave to hotels and other sites so that we get tourists interested and get people to actually take the tour, because you don't want to have a tour no one's taking. So that certainly helped, having those pieces.
So the 200 is per month?
Yeah.
If I understand this, you did this because of limited resources, you didn't have enough hostings, and you wanted people to have self-guided tours,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
So are you also thinking about learning outcomes from this service? And is anybody looking at that for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a feedback facility on the Guide by Cell website, which allows visitors to give you feedback, which is a nice, they just record a message. We've had a bit of that, but not too much. We haven't done a real study. I mean, we know the quantitative stuff. We don't know. We're not testing people on their knowledge of Embassy Row after they take it. But we do feel like it's giving visitors an added service. Something. As I said, we do get a lot of requests about the buildings in our area, and so this was something that we feel was visitor led, and the impetus was we were getting all these inquiries, and so we thought this would be a good thing to do. But no, we had no formal evaluation of that, and
There is mobile technology available where you actually can create a visitor survey just over the phone. So the other great thing about mobile is that it can become interactive and two ways. So you can ask your visitors to leave a comment. They can also answer multiple choice questions over the phone, and then you can also do great things with text messaging in terms of people sending in text feedback or answering questions through the text messaging as well.
they can also donate money, which is a good thing too. We haven't signed up for that service, but it's something we're thinking about.
So, did you have some materials here you can leave so that
Yes,
people can
everyone
call?
should
They got?
have gotten a little booklet about,
We got this.
yes, and then,
Oh, that was
Yeah.
part of the registration. Okay, great. We need to move on to the next panel.